How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Champagne, and today I'm going to break down the plot of Happy Death Day to You, let you know what happens at the end, and then give you my spoiler-filled review of the movie. Happy Death Day to You picks up right at the end of the original movie after Tree has figured out that Laurie is the one killing her and drop-kicked her right out of the second-story window of their sorority house. Unfortunately, it turns out that the problem isn't quite solved just yet when that night Carter's roommate Ryan is killed by someone wearing a baby mask and wakes up in a time loop of his own. He explains the entire situation to Tree and Carter, who obviously know exactly what's going on, so that night they go to the basketball game at their college and they manage to trap the killer before he can kill Ryan, and they take off the mask and realize that underneath it is another Ryan. They tie up Ryan 2 and take him to a lab where Ryan 1 is working on a time machine named Sissy. Ryan 1 decides to turn it on because he thinks it'll fix the time loop, but Ryan 2 wakes up and tells him not to activate it because it'll screw everything up. Everything goes black, and then Tree wakes up back in Carter's bed on Monday the 18th, the date of her birthday from the original movie. She's obviously pretty pissed off that her perfect ending was ruined by Ryan's time machine, so she goes to solve the murders once again and get everything back to normal, but she quickly realizes that everything is just a little bit different in this new timeline. First off, Laurie isn't trying to kill her, Danielle is dating Carter, and the biggest surprise of all comes when she realizes that her mom is alive. Once Tree realizes that her mom's alive, she makes the incredibly tough decision to give up her relationship with Carter to stay in the universe where her mom is still alive. She teams up with Ryan to fix Sissy and stop the time loop for good so she can stay in that universe permanently. Unfortunately, the algorithm they need to fix Sissy is incredibly complex, and the only way they can figure it out is through trial and error. So Tree decides that she's going to kill herself over and over again and remember the algorithms that work herself to find the exact right one that'll fix the machine. And that's when you get the montage of her killing herself over and over again. It's really funny. Just before Sissy is activated, Tree's mom explains to her that she shouldn't let her past determine her future and that she shouldn't be afraid to take a leap of faith on love, even if she doesn't know Carter is the one. At the very last second, Tree has a change of heart and decides to kill herself one last time so she can say goodbye to her mom, save Laurie from tombs, and go back and be with Carter. With Tree's help, Ryan is able to successfully fix Sissy one more time, but at the very last second, the dean breaks into the lab and stops the experiment from going off because he thinks the machine is a failure. Tree manages to steal back Sissy, and while Ryan is setting it up for her, she goes to the hospital to save Laurie. It turns out in this universe that Laurie is the one sleeping with the college professor instead of Tree, and his wife caught them, and she wants the husband to kill Laurie. So the husband does shoot Laurie, but then he also turns the gun on his wife and eventually tries to kill Tree, but she manages to overpower him and finally kill him, and thankfully Laurie is not dead. The machine finally turns on, sends Tree home, and everything is back to normal and the time loop is fixed. A few weeks later, the government recruits the college students to help them figure out how Sissy works, and they decide to willingly use it on another human being. Of course, they all choose Danielle. And that's what happens in Happy Death Day to You, so now we're going to move on to my review of the movie. I think the reaction to Happy Death Day to You is going to be split exactly 50-50 down the middle, based entirely on the expectations of the audiences going into it. If you're the kind of person who wanted Christopher Landon to explore the horror genre a little bit more and continue the slasher elements of the first movie, you're going to be sorely disappointed, and you're definitely going to hate this movie just a little bit. But if you're more like me and you were sold on Jessica Roth's perfect performance as Tree in the first movie and you just want to see where those characters are going, including Carter and her friends, you're absolutely gonna love this movie. That's because excluding the slasher element, I think nearly every other aspect of this film was greatly improved from the original, and by focusing on comedy, I think that serves the characters and the story that Landon set out to tell this time around much better than traveling down the slasher route ever would. And that's because while the jokes are well written and extremely funny, they're really only there to bring levity to a plot that's incredibly emotional in a really surprising way. At first, it seems like being able to go back and live in a different reality where the worst thing that ever happened to you is changed might be a good thing that anyone would want, but it turns out that the happiness is short term because the bad things that happen in your life inform who you are just as much as the good things do. So yeah, it's really easy to empathize with Tree at first when she decides to stay in this universe where her mom is alive, but when she decides to go back and has to go say goodbye to her mom, it had me openly crying in the theater. It is so incredibly emotional. She realizes that the memories created between her mom's death and the present in this universe aren't actually hers, and by going back to her universe, she's able to be with Carter and be the good person she became in the original movie. A lot of people are going to compare this to Back to the Future 2 because the people involved with this movie keep bringing it up, but the key difference here is that the world that Tree goes to isn't exactly a bad one, and that helps you understand why she doesn't want to leave it. Choosing her own universe over the one where her mom is alive is a great development for this character who started out as a mean-spirited, self-centered bitch. She's come a really long way. Something that I'm pretty sure happened between the first movie and this one is that the budget was increased, which makes sense because the first Happy Death Day made so much money, but it seems like they went and spent all of it on the original score for this one. The first movie heavily favored licensed music, which worked really well for it, but this time around there's a lot more emotional moments that pack a huge punch, and Bear McCreary composed a score that's absolutely incredible. It complements this movie in a way that I don't think it exactly needed, but it helps it so much more to become a memorable film. And honestly, I don't think that dude gets enough credit. He scores a ton of games and movies, and he always does a really good job, but I never hear anyone talk about him, and it's really weird. To wrap things up here, Happy Death Day 2 is pretty much the perfect sequel in my opinion because it improves on the original movie in pretty much every way imaginable. The one thing I would have liked to see more of is the horror element that they introduced last time around, but the reasons that they cut it are kind of justified here, and these characters were ones that I was definitely happy to revisit because they're hilarious, they're well acted, they're well written, and I'll be really happy to see them again in a sequel, which is totally teased at the very end. So obviously, I love this movie. I would be really surprised if it didn't break my top 10 at the end of the year, or even my top 5. Like, I don't know, this movie just spoke to me in a way that very few movies do. It's a total blast, and I really think you should go see it, but get ready if you are expecting that horror element. I don't think you're gonna like it because it's just not exactly there. So that's what I thought of Happy Death Day 2, and if you're still here, you're probably a subscriber, so now is the perfect time for me to announce that I finally launched my Patreon page. I only have 3 tiers set up, a $1, $3, and $5 tier, and they're all set up around that Thorn Cult idea I announced last week. If you give me $1 every month, you'll get access to my Patreon page and a special role on my Discord server. If you give me $3, you'll be able to participate in a monthly horror movie book club where we'll pick a movie at the beginning of the month, and then about halfway or towards the end of the month, we'll all sit down and talk about what we thought of it. And if you give me $5 every month, you get everything else on top of being able to submit and vote on the movies we're gonna watch every month. And obviously for both of those tiers, you also get Discord roles as well. I kept these rewards simple and fun because my focus is on my YouTube channel and making awesome videos that you can still watch for free, and not on making money on Patreon, but I wanted to give the people who really want to support me a fun way to keep in touch with me and join this awesome community I built over on my Discord. If you pledge any amount, thank you so much, and if you can't afford it or just don't want to, I completely understand. Anyway guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.